Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth, if I'm not mistaken, sessions, fourth Q&A session. So we took questions from the forums, and we're going to answer them.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool. Which is a section of our forums that we take the questions from?
So we made a special post for it for this time.
That's right. That was Pat who made the post, right?
Exactly.
Very cool. If you want to submit questions for the next Q&A, you go to...
You go to general forums. That's where we actually posted this time.
And you can see the link now.
And we are talking about the spiffy, more or less brand new official Dead by Daylight forums.
Yes.
For those of you who don't realize that we have those. Go check them out.
It's true.
With the link.
The link
down below.
There you go.
All right. Well, we're still going to introduce ourselves.
Sure.
I'm McLean, one of the community managers on the project.
Hell yeah. I'm Stefan Horvath, and I'm a game designer on the project.
Louis McLean, gameplay programmer, part-time design guy.
So,
game programmer / game designer. Just go straight forward.
Game programmer.
I'm not ready to say that yet.
Okay. I said it for him.
So we're publishing this Q&A today on Thursday. So it's been 2 days that the PTB has been out. Obviously, we're shooting this before the PTB is out.
It's Monday today.
It's Monday. Yeah.
So that means that you probably have questions and feedback on the PTB itself, on the new content. Please go to the forums and the sub-forums, PTB feedback, to give us everything that you want, actually.
Yeah.
And then these lovely guys are going to look at it.
I spend too much time reading forums.
A lot of times, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Good.
So hopefully, you guys are enjoying the PTB though, and we look forward to reading your feedback.
Excellent. Let's start with the questions.
All right.
So from White Owl, I always have trouble with this. What do you think about giving Vigil, that got hit hard by the last changes to exhaustion perks, the additional effect of reducing the cooldown of perks such as alert or premonition? Also, I would like to know your thought on the current state of Sabo.
He's cheating by asking 2 questions, but it's okay. We'll answer them both.
We accepted both these questions.
So what do you think about Vigil?
I think Vigil, I think he has a point. I think Vigil did get pretty hit hard with the recent changes.
It seems a bit less attractive than it was before.
Yeah, I don't know if Vigil was attractive before as well. I believe that it is kind of low on the list in terms of usage rates. I would definitely like to see a perk like that getting more usage.
Yep.
I'm not sure if, we spoke about this really quickly earlier, I'm not sure if we want to see changes to premonition or alert, like Vigil actually affecting those things, extra things.
It's an interesting idea, but it seems odd to start picking perks kind of arbitrarily to say like it affects this one, but not these ones, without some kind of unifying mechanic to justify why that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not really sure exactly what we'd slap on Vigil just yet, but we do agree that it could use something.
There was one idea that we had passed around, which is a lasting effect.
Yes.
So once you've been within the range of the leader, Vigil in this case, right, it would actually leave a lasting effect for 20, 25, 30 seconds, where you will continue to have the Vigil's effect affecting you, even if you do not run the perk.
So you're not in the AoE.
Yes.
And you're still getting the power from it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it would have a lasting effect for some amount of time. But we've been kicking this idea for a long time. Back in the day, this was something we were talking about for Leader and the perks like Leader. So that
Leader, prove thyself, streetwise, and...
I don't know about prove thyself. That's kind of for yourself.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, the other ones that give effects to people around you, a neat idea would be what if the effects lasted for a while after you went away?
Lasting on you is pretty nice as well, though.
Sure.
I would like the effect of being like, keep me buff, bro.
So we're still talking about idea stage, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is all in the theoretical work in progress. Don't put this on Reddit, kind of.
Well, they can. It won't be right.
Just don't say that it's happening just yet, because you'll be wrong.
All right. So how about the second part of that question about Sabo?
Sabotage.
So yeah, right now I think we feel that sabotage is not very strong.
No.
Which it's okay to have things that are kind of fun and flavorful and not super strong, but I think we could probably give Sabo a little push.
I agree.
So we have an idea that's kind of gelling. It's kind of a package. Sabo is one part of it. So this is the first time we're talking about it publicly, so let us know what you think. This is all very, very theoretical.
Ooh.
I'm gonna probably hope to put up like a graph or something here because there's a couple of parts.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nice grass.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It looks great. I don't know what it looks like. So imagine three parts of this thing. They're just number tweaks, but they're gonna go together.
Ooh.
So imagine a world where heal time, regular heal time, I'm healing my friend or I'm healing myself or whatever. Right now it's based off 12 seconds of effort. What if instead that was 16?
Ooh.
So right off the bat, that's a big spicy change to heal.
So let's not talk about self-care. We're talking about the basic
This
base
has
heal.
run
Heal.
effects
It's
on
all healing.
everything.
Okay.
So if
Right.
it takes you normally 12 seconds to heal yourself fully, without any add-ons and modifiers, it will now take you 16.
Okay, so we would be making heals longer.
Yes.
It
Take
costs
longer.
more.
Okay.
And then to balance out some of the effects of this change, there would be things along the lines of reducing the effect of mangled, which is currently minus 25%, making that minus 20%. So for example, that would mean that healing would go from 16 to 20 under the effects of mangled.
You like your flat numbers.
Yeah, well,
It's good.
it works out well.
It works out very well.
And also to make sure that things still make sense, we'd go back to medkits and make sure that the medkit charges add up properly so you get your full heal from a brown medkit and all that stuff.
Hell yeah.
So the idea would be you spend more time healing, so that way the killer gains more time by attacking survivors, which is what they want to do. So the second pillar is more things for survivors to do in the game that are meaningful, because what we're looking for are meaningful survivor actions that are not just doing the generator, because we often get complaints, generators go too fast, what else are you supposed to do? It's a valid complaint. So reintroducing a bit of strategic sabotage gameplay, now that sabotage is temporary, it's probably safe to take off a mechanic which many people have probably forgotten about, which is on a toolbox, if you are sabotaging with a toolbox, it's going to be draining charge at 3 charges per second out of your box, because back in the day we wanted to balance how much repair you could do versus how much sabotage you could do. But the circumstances have changed. So what if you could use a toolbox and you could do a real amount of damage with that toolbox? So this is pillar number 2, sabotage. Make it interesting again. And we don't want to necessarily create the sabotage meta, although we have a lot more tools to deal with it these days if it were to become as strong as we're afraid it might be. So we're looking at sabotage. And then since there would be more sabotaging, what if that meant there would be more slugging? Right? This is a valid concern. Well, the third pillar of this little idea would be bringing recover cap back to what it was at 95%.
So drive-bys.
So yeah, exactly. The old one tap.
Okay.
So right now it takes 1.8 seconds to take someone off the ground. With the new heal charge size and 95% recover, it would be 0.8 seconds. So that would be a noticeable difference. Probably more fun ducking in there for the save. So obviously this is the first time we're bringing this idea out into the light, into public. Let us know what you think. If you can see any holes in it.
I have a question for you, actually.
Go for it.
If that happens, would that all happen at the same time?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Well, that would be the hope.
Yeah.
Right? That's what
Because-
we're looking to do.
Yeah, these changes all sort of depend on each other. The idea was to try to bring in a package of changes that are cohesive
Yeah,
for a purpose.
because right now what I would be afraid of is like, oh, we do only one part of this change, and then
Yeah.
6 weeks later another part, and 6 weeks later
Yeah.
another part.
I
So,
would hope that it would all come together.
okay.
Yeah.
Again, still just theoretic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not confirmed. This is an idea that we're talking about.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, we were looking at saboteur. To
yeah.
potentially show hook auras, to potentially delay delay the time that it takes before a hook can be repaired. So a hook regenerates after 3 minutes, right? So instead, you would break a hook, it would take like 30 seconds before
Okay.
the regen timer kicks off.
Only for yourself.
Only when
if
you
you
sabotage.
are okay.
I wouldn't want to see that piling up, but it's more
Yes.
like I am very good at sabotage, therefore the things I sabotage stay sabotaged longer.
But that's
The-
just an idea.
A part of the context for that is that we would probably want to remove the efficiency modifier on saboteur.
Well, I mean, by default, when we make it so that when you use a toolbox to sabotage,
Yeah.
your change is making it more efficient.
Yeah.
So by
the
default,
changes,
when we take it away from saboteur, we're already making sabotage way more efficient.
Yeah.
66% more efficient
Yeah.
than it used to be. So I mean, like saboteur having that in
300%.
addition.
Removing minus 66% is
Sorry,
like
yeah,
tripling
300%.
the efficiency.
Yeah.
I've
So
spent
saboteur will be fine.
way too long dealing with the math when you start getting into negative percentages versus
Yeah.
positive percentages. It's fun. It's
All
lots
right.
of fun.
So
It's good to have you here for that.
Yeah.
all of this,
Yeah.
please give us feedback on these
please.
ideas. Still at the idea stage.
Yeah.
Right.
So thanks, White Owl, for the question. I think we wasted half of our time budget answering it. Let's go. Let's continue.
All right. Moving on. Next question from Azazer. So sorry about your name. Is there any plans to rework totems behind just placement?
Yes. So we mentioned in the past as well. We talked about changing the model. We talked about changing when they would light up, potentially changing how they are spawned. So the location as to which spawn point we choose in relation to generators, survivors, the killer, for example. And in addition to that, when you talk about placement, I'm not sure if you necessarily meant like in terms of level design, in terms of like where they are placed, or how they are
I
spawned
think
in the
it's
world.
spawn points. Like when they spawn on top of a hill, it's, like.
The old lighthouse hex totem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
making
It's a
sure
big
you
one,
don't get
right?
lost in the level. Yeah.
So these are things that we would like to adjust. We'd like to adjust a plethora of things around the totems themselves. So it won't just be placement that we're thinking about. We're thinking about a fair amount of changes.
So
for
what, for
totems.
example, like something that would change not only placement?
We had talked about making it so it's just a skull.
Okay.
So it's not actually raised up. So it's actually much lower.
Like harder to see, basically.
Harder to see. So harder to find, right? And then it wouldn't really necessarily matter if it's, if the spawn points are beside generators or whatever the case may be. You still have to look for it. In terms of spawning, we can make it so it spawns further away from generators. Sometimes it has a tendency to spawn with a survivor and a generator on the same tile, which is a bit insane. We
Yeah.
should try to push that elsewhere.
In hindsight, putting them next to generators might not be the greatest.
I don't think we don't take account of generators at the moment. We should take account of the generators. So yes, absolutely. So those are the types of changes that we are going to look for. Basically, making it so that it's hex totems have a higher risk-reward factor, but not so easily taken out of the game, especially at the beginning of the game. So yes, there are changes coming for that. Not in the next patch, but
Yeah. We don't have a timeline to announce for that yet.
those are definitely things we want to look at as well.
All right.
You got the name good though.
Yeah, from Delphador.
Yeah.
I generally play survivor and tunneling is very frustrating for me. So when I play as killer, I deliberately try to avoid tunneling but hooking different survivors rather than focusing on a single survivor and eliminating him from the match. It doesn't feel rewarding. Do you have any plan to reward killers who do not camp and tunnel?
Go for it.
We talked about this earlier.
We did.
So we've got a couple of perks and things which are like barbecue and chili was an example of one that tried to reward you for playing nice, let's say.
It encourages, well, just to give you baseline, it encourages you to hook multiple survivors and gives you a bonus, a blood point bonus for each unique survivor that's been hooked.
Right, and the perks mechanics incentivize you to run off and do something else instead of staying in front of the hook. So it's possible you'll see more things like that.
Yeah.
But in general, I think what's more important to fix this is it's not giving heavier incentives to do something else. It's not punishing people who want to play the way they want to play. I think that the best solution for this kind of problem is to make those scenarios just more fun to play. Obviously, people want to defend their hooks. People want to try to get somebody out of the game to help them in a competitive situation. So rather than penalizing people for doing what they want to do, it is a game, right? It's supposed to be fun. I would first like to find ways to make that stuff more fun. Make attacking a hook more fun. Make, oh, he's coming after me and whatever. Like, give more tools to the survivor to fight back against that. Just make it more fun and interactive is what I would like to see first.
I totally agree, yeah. Camping and tunneling are parts of the game that a lot of people find strategic benefits to doing so, right? And it absolutely does bring a lot of strategic benefits from doing so. As Louis said, I think we're looking to make it more fun, not very necessarily penalizing, and by rewarding it in some way or another, as making it encouraged and fun, incentivizing it. So yes.
So when you create new changes or new content in the game, you have that in mind when you bring it.
That's the goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
You may not always end up making it less or more appealing, but yes, that's the goal that we're trying to go towards. Can I say the next name?
Yes, you can say the next name.
Yes, I'm sorry. From Ghibli Wibbly Woo.
Can you do it again?
From Ghibli Wibbly Woo.
All right. Are there any plans to increase base gen regression speed? Currently, I can break a gen at 90%, go on a multi-minute long chase, and that ends with a hook, only to see it still above 50%. Not to mention the perks that have no effect versus good player like Overcharge and Lullaby. Pop Goes the Weasel is nice, but the timer ruins it and also causes the player to have possibility.
No possibility.
No possibility to ignore other survivors on the way to a gen.
Mm-hmm.
There's also gen tapping mid-chase, which completely screws the killer from attempting to slow progression in the first place. Thanks for reading. And then there's a second
And
question.
this one, they
Yes.
snuck a second question in there again.
Yes, it's been 7 months and Pig's add-ons are still broken. So let's tackle this one first.
The pig?
The Pig.
All right.
Easy win.
So by the time you're watching this, the PTB should be out, and you should notice some pig add-on bug fixes.
Oh, what?
I also want to take the time to tackle a common misconception about some pig add-ons that affect skill check chance.
What is up with those skill check chants?
So some sneaky people snuck in and checked the numbers, and they saw that they were 1% and 2%, and
Okay.
thought, my goodness, somebody at behavior their finger must have slipped. It was supposed to be 10 and 20, obviously, right? Who cares about 1 or 2%?
Not enough zeros.
Not enough zeros. So what's actually happening there is that for skill checks, what's happening is that every second, under the hood, we're seeing if you should get a skill check. And there's some base percent, which I'm not going to reveal just yet. But the idea behind this, these add-ons is that they increase that chance. Let's say it's 10, just because the number works out really well.
That's pretty close.
Let's say it's 10, and you increase it by 1 to 11%.
And that's every second.
Right. Exactly every second you do this. Let's say rolling a die, for example, as a Dungeons and Dragons player. That's the way I see it. Every second we roll your die, see if you get a skill check. So in this case, with this add-on, your chances would be 11% instead of 10%. And then if you want to look at it kind of sideways, you say, well, 11% is a 10% increase over 10%.
Oh boy. I hope you have a graph right now.
Here's my beautiful graph. Anyway, so yes, it's both plus 1%, and it's also plus 10% at the same time.
Woo!
So there you go. Those are probably working as intended.
Probably.
So it is a 10% gain and 20% gain is what you're saying?
It's a
And a
1%
1% and
gain
2%.
and a 10% gain and a
Beautiful.
2% gain and a 20% gain.
Let's do
Depends
it.
how you look at it.
All right. Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
The other part
Yes,
of that
the other
question,
part.
which talks about base regression speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just give you a little numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You regress a generator at 25% of the speed at which you can repair it by default, which means that you're regressing the generator at 0.25 charges a second.
Yeah.
Right? It takes you 320 seconds to regress a fully charged generator, which is impossible.
That's a
You
little
can't
bit
kick a
more than
generator.
5 minutes, if you're wondering.
Yeah. You can't kick a generator when it's fully repaired, though, so you'll never be exactly 320
Yeah.
seconds.
Let's say somebody left a 99.9% repaired generator. You kick it, it will take 5 minutes, roughly,
Yeah.
before it's all the way back down.
319.
So do we have any plans currently to increase that rate?
We thought about adding an increased amount to certain perks.
Yeah.
I know Pop Goes the Weasel, I think at one point was something of that nature, but it definitely changed into something else. I like where Pop Goes the Weasel is at the moment, with the exception of the timer as well. I believe that there
Yeah.
are things that we can work with that as well.
Yeah, it's valid.
I don't know if we want to make it so that you kick a generator and then all of a sudden it's completely removed all of its progress. Survivors have worked pretty hard to put that progress there.
And let's keep in mind that they're gonna eventually have other things to do also.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's a goal long term or
Right.
midterm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to incentivize other actions other than just generators. Give survivors more stuff to do. So yeah, I mean the strength of the generator regression is a knob that we can always tweak
Yeah.
for balance. I think it's pretty much where it needs to be at the moment. Who knows? That might change, but I wouldn't say we have any imminent plans to change it.
Did you know that it actually used to have a hard cap as to how much it could regress?
Yes. Up until not that long ago.
Really?
Very recently, yeah.
Yeah.
25%.
That was a hard cap.
It was a hard cap. So when you kick a generator, it could only remove up to 25%. So you would hope that someone would come by and fiddle with it just before the end, and you're like, ha-ha, and you kick it again, you're just like, sucker.
So there was one more point in the question, which was that gen tapping it mid-chase screws the killer for attempting to slow the progression.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that either. I think that taking time out of a tense chase to try to tap the generator on your way past may be slightly frustrating for a killer, but it's a pretty neat moment, and I think it's more than justifies its existence in the game. I think it's kind of a cool play more than anything else.
That's
so
fair.
It stops regression, but you would assume that no one's going to work on the gen while you're chasing around anyways.
Sure. Maybe your super coordinated survive with friends squad was ready to jump back on, but in that case they didn't need you to.
Or
stop
maybe
the
you have a
regression.
sneaky technician in your
Maybe.
team.
That's right.
All right. Let's go to the next one from Dr. Trott. As more and more teachable perks are coming into the game, would you guys consider making more default perk for survivors in killer? Also, would you be able to take suggestions from players at some points for perks? And then if these are not balanced, you guys could do as you see fit to make them so.
Cool question. Yeah. I believe that we should make more default perks. I guess he means general perks, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think the term we often use in the office is the general pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the general pool of perks would be nice to actually expand. Currently, the way that you can achieve having every perk on your account is a lot of grind.
Yep.
So that's something that we're also looking at. I know that the perks themselves, I mean, like 250 plus levels to unlock them all are
It's intense.
is a lot. So before we add general perks to the pool and increase the overall amount, I think we wanted to adjust that.
So adjust the progression before we add more.
At least for
Basic
perks, right?
Yeah, okay.
But adding general perks is
Yeah.
something that we definitely would like
We're
to do.
definitely not against it. I know it's only happened a couple of times in the game's history.
Kindred
Kindred was the one I remember the most.
Thrill of the Hunt.
Thrill of the Hunt, yeah.
I think that's it. I don't think we actually added anything
Yeah.
else.
But there's no rule against doing it.
No.
It's simply that with our release schedule now, every 3 months,
Yeah.
a new survivor is going to show up with 3 perks, a new killer is going to show up with 3 perks, and adding more perks on top of that. That's a lot of perks. There is a lot of perks in this game.
So how about when we review some of those perks that were in the general pool, we could completely change them into a
Yeah.
new thing,
I
right?
mean, that's happened.
That's actually, yeah.
Deja vu is an actual perk now.
Yeah.
So what's been happening more often is that we go down and we dredge up some perks that see almost no use and say, how about we reimagine you under modern sensibilities? And that's been going pretty well so far, I think.
I think so. We have to look at like Monster Shrine, and there's a few outliers.
Oh yeah,
there's
there's
Spice
still,
and Shadows.
still the list of underplayed perks. We know what they are. We are coming up with ideas for them, and you'll probably see them trickling out a few at a time. Every time there's a, maybe not every time, but quite often when there's
Whoa, Louis.
when there's a chapter patch, when there's a mid-chapter patch,
Expectations.
expect to see sometimes perk changes.
All right.
Thank you, Louis.
You're welcome.
It's true.
So the next 2 questions are about Freddy, so I'm
Yep.
going to read them together. From Jackie Kins, is there going to be a buff to Freddy or a full rework? And then from Mech Party, could we have specific on the Freddy rework? We understand that there is a major overhaul, but it'll be nice to have some confirmation for his upcoming buff.
Okay.
Do we say buff or changes?
Well, he said rework
Changes.
multiple times, and then he said buffs. So I think that's not fair.
So
Put those words in our mouth.
there won't be any confirmation because nothing is set in stone,
Okay.
other than the fact that this is the character that we want to spend time on next.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't write in stone at the office, is what Louis said.
Yeah, we use computers.
Which can change.
That's right. Electronic storage is good that way.
Hell yes.
So for Freddy, there's some things that we can say we want to look at, right? Oh geez, where did I put that? That's fine, I'll do it live. So the things that we want to address with Freddy. Item number 1, he feels unfun to play against. This is I'm quoting what people often tell me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes down to the sort of tunneling aspect of his power, the aura reading that he gets.
One of the biggest things that I get as feedback as well is that at the beginning you have no idea where he is or how to dodge him.
Right. So he's a bit frustrating to play against, and often I get feedback that he's a bit frustrating to play as.
The guy healing in front of you,
The guy
or
healing
doing
in front of you,
the generator, or
you can't
opening the exit
exactly,
gate.
you can't stop them from doing the things that they're doing. So these are issues that we want to tackle. Probably he will get stronger as part of the rework, but I wouldn't say that's the most important factor.
That's not the focal point.
Yeah.
The focal point is fun, I think. Right?
Exactly, trying to get it to be fun, more fun to play against.
Yes. So how do we want to do that?
So we can toss some wild ideas out there. None of this is even close to set in stone. This is all wild speculation.
Set in computer, you mean?
None of it is. Yeah, I don't think this is even written down in the computer.
Not yet.
This is purely
Somewhere.
purely crazy discussions. Okay, so here's an idea. Imagine a world where the aura reading aspect of Freddy's power was removed and completely reworked, flipped on its head.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Imagine that instead of being a power for locating the survivors in the dream, what if it was for locating the survivors who are awake so that you can bring them into the dream?
So I'd start the match,
and you'd see them.
and I would see all the survivors,
Maybe.
right?
Yeah.
In theory, if they're all awake, unless they're all sleeping by
I've,
default.
I've actually got more crazy speculation on top of this layer of crazy speculation.
Awesome.
So imagine if, because here's point number 2. What if the point of his power was that it got stronger the more people you dragged into your dream world?
Which seems to be something that people have asked for quite often
Right.
as well.
Build up kind of powers are kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Myers.
Assuming that the mechanics of building them up make sense. The third pillar would probably be adjusting how hard it is to get into and also out of the dream, because I'm tired of self-care in Freddy's face to wake yourself up. Right. So I would probably not want to see that in the post-rework world.
Makes sense?
Okay, so when
so-
you're in dream world, you're not seen anymore if you're out of the range.
Yeah. So forget the tunneling aura power.
Okay, so but he can find you really easy.
So okay, so like I had a dream, right? And I was playing Freddy in my dream, in the dream world, right? And what happened was I was chasing a survivor. I was looking. I was like, where is the survivor? I've just started. I'm weak. My power hasn't built up yet. I don't have anything. But I've stumbled on a survivor, and I'm going to drag him into the dream world. And what does that give me? That gives me the ability to see all the other survivors who are awake. So now I have the choice to engage this guy, or to go and try to bring more other people and make my power stronger.
Because when you bring more, your power
will
grows.
grow. Yeah. So
what's your power that's growing?
I don't know. My dream didn't go on long enough. I wasn't able to bring the rest in.
Okay.
But this is how it started, and I'm like, hey, that seems kind of cool. Yes, I dream about
Dreaming.
Dead by
killer
Daylight.
powers stuff now. There's a terrible Twitch clip of me singing about it from my stream.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things also about quality of life,
Yeah.
like the way you see in the dream
Yep.
world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So stuff like that, is it going to be addressed also?
I would absolutely hope so. It
Yeah.
would be the opportunity. We've absolutely heard the complaints about like the film grain effect.
Thank you.
Things like just general brightness, darkness, these kinds of things.
For both sides,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah,
but okay.
So yeah, we're listening. We're on it.
Also, the transition time is too long from a lot of people's perspective as well. We were looking to go down to 4 seconds. Perhaps change the add-ons.
whether it's reducing the time it takes in transition or changing some of the mechanics for the transition, what you
Whatever
can
it
do.
is.
Like, does it stop someone from doing whatever they're doing?
Yeah, maybe stopping you while you're transitioning completely would be an interesting way.
At a start, those are the things that we'd like to try
Yeah.
and see if they work as a base on Freddy. In addition to that, we'd like to explore what it is that we can do if we change it on its head.
The
So-
bad news, we don't have a precise timeline for this.
We don't.
Don't quote us as saying this is coming in the next mid-chapter patch. It
Well, he
might
said
not. We
but it's not
don't
what he
don't
meant.
know exactly when this is coming in.
All
it's just
we
that
know is it's the
it's
next one we want to look into.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all really, really excited to work on Freddy and get him all up to where we want him to be, because he's such an exciting character. We love this character. We want him to be loved as well.
Up to Claw.
Awesome.
All right, to Claw.
All right.
All right.
So thank you, Jackie Kins and Mick Hardy.
All right. From Bravo. Oh, I said it in French. Bravo 0413. Dear devs, currently in the game, there are some fairly bad loops that are known as infinite. Ironworks and Cowshed are two maps that can be mentioned. Has there any work been done or any work in progress to remove these loops from the game?
Nobody would ask this by the time that people are watching this video, because there are some pretty significant map changes in the PTB. If you don't know about this, there's a whole list of changes to strong loops in the PTB. Go check the patch notes, be amazed, jump in game, check out those abusable spots.
I think he straight up nuked. So like,
Yeah, I think
The
there's
silo?
there's
which is on
windows that were completely
Lower.
blocked and will not
That's a
spawn anymore.
that's a silo?
It's
The interior silo
tormented,
one.
whatever.
Torment Creek?
Yeah.
So Torment Creek, there was like the two pallets that are beside there that you can like, fiddle to get in the window. I think he
So-
just, and there's only one pallet there now.
So PTB is out right now, right? So you guys can.
Knock on wood that nothing happened. I'm sure everything went super smooth.
Yeah.
Yes. So give us feedback on this.
Yeah.
Actually,
Police.
from Stizo D.
That Dutch.
Search probably, yeah.
Good job.
Can we get a monthly all-time leaderboard? Even a simple one would be fun, showing off kill ratio for those that have at least XX amount of games with that killer or an escape ratio for survivor. Only count full 4 survivor games with no DC. Eventually, maybe you can do something more detailed, but for now, I'd like to know how the bests are doing. So you guys are looking at me like I have the answer.
It's a good question. Like next time what we should do is we should be like, hey, we should ask this question, and then if the person's not in the room, we should just go to like picture in picture.
Yeah.
Like just all look up
Yeah.
to him and be like, hey.
Here's some footage of us talking to a person who can talk about this.
But I
I-
don't believe we can do that at the moment easily.
Not at the moment, not easily. Of course, this is something we've been
We've mentioned leaderboards a few times.
we've
like
mentioned it. We know that leaderboards or a rework of how the ranking and everything is coming. We don't have ATAs on this, but obviously this is the kind of thing that would be a quality of life update. We would probably not publish anything on someone else's profile, but you guys would see your own thing. Maybe we can, look
Never
into
know.
this, but this would be like a quality of life upgrade, and we're not there yet. So, yeah, sadly,
It's true. From Leaderick.
Leaderrick.
It's like rhetoric.
Yeah. Are you still working on remaking old and creating new tiles? Can you show us some examples? Some maps like Shelter Woods or Red Forest lack variety. Oh God,
So-
I can't do this word.
Variety.
Variety.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah, pleasure. So we just had a question from Bravo
Yeah.
that we're probably going to answer later. No, I'm just kidding. That we probably already answered. And we are reworking some old tiles. This is including some of the old infinites as we talked about. Are we going to limit ourselves just to reworking the loops and whatnot? I don't think so. I think we're actually going to be looking and expanding our vision further. I would like that personally. So that could be awesome.
I know people have been waiting a long time for changes to the maps. I understand how hard it's been to wait. These things are starting to happen. I'm very excited about them, and I hope you are too.
Super excited.
Well-
I don't think we have anything to announce in regards to straight up new tiles on old maps at the moment.
No.
It's another one of those things that'd be great, but there are other things we have to get to first. So
That's true.
never say never, but maybe later.
Cool.
All right. From
Ernestas.
at the current state of the game, without X-Ruin, generators are just flying if the killer takes a bit too long to chase down the survivor, especially with all those loops and pallets. Any plan to change that without just increasing the time needed to repair generators? So that kind of loops back?
Yeah. What we were
uh,
talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because we also agree that just increasing the amount of time it takes to fix generators is not super fun.
We already did that.
We already did it. It was probably the right thing to do at the time, but people are generally not happy with just a longer generator time.
No kidding, yeah.
Neither are we. So what's more likely than that is the 3-pillar plan I was talking about earlier.
Can you remind us?
So that's increasing the time it takes to heal, increasing the strength of sabotaging, and I completely forget what the 3rd pillar was. What did I say?
A dying state.
There you go.
So you had a health state, bigger pool. So it takes you longer to get healed, right?
Which affects every
Every
healing
form
perks
of healing
too,
and healing
right?
perks, everything.
Okay.
Yeah. The second thing is sabotage is now going to be cheaper, so you can actually sabotage more hooks with a toolkit, unless we change that as well. But anyways.
Sabotage more. Take your toolbox. Sabotage more hooks.
And your third point is when you're in the dying state, so when you're bleeding out, you can actually recover to 95% instead of 85% as it currently is at, and you recover at 50% the speed instead of 40% of the speed, your normal speed, right?
Let's put the giant flashing work in progress
Yes.
banner.
Testing.
This is the first time we're
ideas.
talking about this outside the office. Let us know what you think. It's not confirmed yet. It's just ideas.
All right.
So yeah, so there's an idea for you.
All right.
And the other thing that we were doing is also reducing killer animations.
Yes.
We're trying to make
Well,
it
we
more
started
efficient in general.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to continue to look into those types of things. Changes to Decisive Strike should help in the long run with this as well.
So do we have an ETA on that one? Because
That
that's
one-
been asked like
That one
all over the place.
is coming.
Okay. When
The
TM?
mid-chapter patch.
Thank
Which
you.
is not this one.
So it's not in the PTB. You probably have already noticed it's not in the PTB. You've already probably gotten mad that it's not in the PTB, and I understand, and I apologize.
But why? Why is it
There
in
are
the mid-chapter
There
patch,
are
guys?
really legitimate reasons that I don't want to get into.
Yes.
If I could put it in the PTB, if I could just jam it in there, I would. I can't. I tried. It didn't fit. It's going in the mid-chapter patch.
All right.
The next one.
But that's confirmed.
That's confirmed.
Thank you.
All right, from Vision Maker. Are there any plans to address unfair looking inconsistencies through windows and across pallets? Many hits across pallet vaults overly favor the killer as the survivors hit unless they are already most of the way across. On the flip side, chainsawing survivors vaulting across pallets usually detect the pallet before the survivor somehow, even at the very beginning of the animation. Similarly, windows seem to work the same way, but it's especially unfair when a chainsaw hit goes through windows when visibly unfeasible. As it is now, killers would rather bloodlust through window and pallet loops than to vault or break them, making it almost impossible to break line of sight and lose the killer in most maps.
I got a couple things I could throw in for this.
Fire away.
So one thing that you probably have noticed on the PTB is a change to Bloodlust speeds. Bloodlust 1 is the same as it was. So in fact, the first 30 seconds of chase are unchanged. Bloodlust 2 is a little weaker than it used to be. Bloodlust 3 is significantly weaker than it used to be. The idea is not to use Bloodlust as your only tool in the chase.
Do they happen faster?
They do not happen faster.
Okay,
Not
so
at the moment. They're
so
happening
we're
every 15
lowering
seconds.
Bloodlust 2 and 3 speed,
Yeah.
but not the
Significantly.
1.
No.
Okay.
2 a little bit, 3 significantly.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go check the patch notes if you want to see the brand new numbers on that. But that should help with the last part, making it so that it's not always a winning move. It should just help in the cases that chases do get too long.
Oh yes, can you talk about pallets? We also did something in the PTB that you might have noticed.
Yes.
You drop pallets a lot more
You drop,
smooth.
yes. The I'm running and dropping it behind me is unchanged.
Yeah.
But if you're standing in front of it and you're facing down the killer and you're getting ready to throw it, that's going to feel a lot smoother. You no longer do the twirl. You just throw it down in front of you. It's gonna feel smoother. The stun's gonna happen a little faster.
Yeah, there should be less time between when you click the button,
Yeah.
drop the pallet, and he gets stunned. It should be happening much quicker, and it should result in perhaps less hits through the pallet.
And as for nasty-looking hits
Through
you're-
windows and stuff?
through windows,
Mhm.
it's a tricky situation. That it does get a lot worse with latency. We do have a few things coming through. It's not a catch-all fix, but I recently saw some work being done on chainsawing, where there's like a pallet and a survivor, and there.
I think you hit both now.
Well, only in the case where you previously would have hit neither. This was something. So this is a minor part of this problem, but there's a case where if you're coming at the guy at just the right time, it's just not going to work. Your chainsaw is just going to whiff, and you're going to break nothing. That case has been fixed because it was just a bug, and what you're going to do now instead is hit them both, which is going to look beautiful.
Wait, so you're dropping the pallet
No,
and
you're vaulting.
This
you're
this-
vaulting. Okay,
yeah.
that's the vault. Okay.
This is a minor case where you should both things are equally valid targets.
So you're breaking the pallet as you chainsaw the survivor.
Yeah.
So
It's not going to happen every time or anything. This is a narrow case.
So the edge case
Yeah,
is
But
not
the-
going to be insane for killers.
Yeah, this was an edge case that was just failing really hard.
Really
and
bad for
the
killers.
solution was hit everything.
Yeah.
That's going to be super cool. So if you see that happen, that's why. It's not going to happen all the time. It should be pretty rare from what I understand. And as for the rest of it, bad looking hits through windows, it's always in the back of our mind. Improvements might happen, might not happen soon enough.
We had talked about the size of the cone that we use to hit people.
Yep.
And we talked about reducing this and bringing it closer, right? But that would mean that a lot of hits that you would have gotten before, you're going to miss,
Yeah.
right? It means you're going to have to get a lot closer to survivors before being able to bring the pain.
like as much as like Evil Within 1 Michael.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really, really close.
The idea
his
would be
actual
that-
cone is still far. It's just that he doesn't.
Right. Instead of that, it would be more along the lines of increasing how fast you move during a lunge, but bringing in the detection zone a bit.
Oh, okay.
So you wouldn't
So-
be weaker. It would just be changing the mechanics of how that works.
So the end result would be the same, about.
Ideally.
Yeah. But you would have less moment where you hit through windows and the person's already running.
You'd have to be much
away.
closer, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like basically you'd be using your body as the battering ram,
Yeah.
right? And if you hit somebody with your tiny capsule in front of you, then you would apply damage.
Okay.
Whereas right now it's like I have this gigantic cone, and if you fall anywhere within it, I will hit you.
So, well, if that happens, then do we change anything to like, you know, the loops and
Yeah.
the size and
That's why-
the pallets? Because if that comes in, like, it feels like a huge
Well,
change.
We're
And
saying that
and
the lunge would have to be much faster, or much
Okay.
longer. So basically, you'd have to cover the same amount of ground that your cone could have covered.
Yeah.
You become more skillful because instead of having this big net, I have to use this smaller thing to hit you, right? But at the same time, I should get more speed. And
Okay.
I should be
You'd
more
be a bit
able to
faster.
get you.
Yeah.
Well,
This
this
is-
is just talking again.
This is in the box of extremely radical potential changes. Like we've talked about things that are not set in stone, or things about talked about things that are theoretical. This is like over there in like the box of like crazy stuff we probably shouldn't even talk about, but we do talk about it sometimes.
I hope we put a box up for you to point at.
Yeah, that'd be good. It's like crazy, not so crazy, like way too crazy to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. So
You
that's
can
in the
use
way
it as a
too
reference.
crazy, but
Oh, yeah.
but we're
Crazy,
still
not so
talking
good.
about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still in the talk about realm.
We talk about a lot of stuff.
We like to talk.
From McDonald's.
McDonald's.
When will you rework the skill check mechanic? There are no challenge anymore since 2 years. Here are some suggestions. Make it more random and harder in general. Don't always show the great skill check zone. It should sometimes go counterclockwise and add skill check to cleansing totems or opening chests.
I have feelings about skill checks.
He has feelings.
So we definitely hear you. Players who've played a lot of Dead by Daylight tend not to have trouble with skill checks in general. That being said, not everybody who's playing Dead by Daylight is an experienced player who doesn't have trouble with skill checks anymore. Those of you who are watching this video are probably already so engaged that you probably don't have that much trouble with them. There are tons of other players out there, and we do try to keep everybody in mind. So I don't think the solution to keep you in your seat when skill checks happen is just to make them harder for everybody all the time. What you probably are going to see more often is tools given to killers to create harder skill checks.
Like unnerving presence?
Like unnerving presence, or things along those lines, overcharged thing, whatever. There are some more skill checks that are going to keep you a little off guard, or like the doctor, although we saw what happened when we gave the doctor all those abilities.
Skill checks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think there would be a way to vary this by rank?
I don't know if I want to make the gameplay different for different ranks.
It's fair.
It's not like it's impossible. We've talked about this kind of thing before.
Yeah, skill check zone could be non-existent. No, I mean very tiny. I'd like rank 1.
non-existent. No more skill checks.
I would put that in the box we were talking
You must
about.
only hold M1.
The
when you
crazy,
get to
the
rank
crazy idea box that we shouldn't be talking about right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
1. It's a great box.
It's a lot of stuff in the box.
Hello, Mackenzie.
Mackenzie. Hello, amazing devs. I have a questions from the previous Q&A thread. Have the Dead by Daylight team try making a mechanic where in any instance you stop healing, you'll have a steep regression penalty. If they have not tried this idea, could it be a possible nerf to all healing action instead of just self-care? I really think this would help out with the self-care situation. It doesn't punish you for just stopping for a brief moment, since you wouldn't have lost much progression.
So, are we talking about natural decay, I guess?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's like if I stop for a second, I don't lose a chunk, but it's like
Well, the
on
way
a
that she
certain
said it,
time.
it sounded like she was talking about a chunk at the beginning, but then at the end, it says that she said you wouldn't be punished for stopping for a brief moment. So it leads me to believe that this will be a constant loss.
DK, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I think that could work as well. We have that for nothing right now? Do we have anything that decays?
No.
Oh, no.
Well, the regression on gens
Actu-
is a decay.
Technically, this is how the charging a chainsaw as Billy works. You let go of it, and the bar actually.
There you go. We got it for the Billy.
There are a couple of things that work that way. I find it unlikely that we'd change the base mechanic for healing, or that we'd make it so that self-care is such a dramatically different way of healing yourself.
We could let you actually lose charges per second
Yeah.
if we wanted to.
It's
naturally regress.
Well, if you had to choose between this and the idea we had earlier about making healing in general more difficult and longer, where would we go?
I think we still want to do that regardless.
I'm pretty big on the idea that we were talking about earlier.
That's the larger health pool.
Yeah.
It's not like we said, not confirmed. It's just what we're talking about. Self-care is such a controversial perk. If we were to increase the base time from 12 to 16 seconds, that would have an amplified effect on self-care, since self-care goes at half the speed. Instead of taking an extra 4 seconds, self-care would take an extra 8 seconds.
That's starting to be a lot longer.
Right.
That's a hell of a
And
lot of
in
time.
fact, this is kind of the reason why I'm glad we decided not to do anything to self-care in the last round, where we were debating a lot of perks, a lot of the big ticket perks were being looked at. And we eventually decided to leave self-care for the time being. One of the things that we almost went with was to reduce it to 33% speed instead of 50% speed. And that would probably be directly into the unfun zone at that point with this change that we're talking
We
about.
also talk about the one that like progression, and then if you don't finish it,
Yeah.
it completely resets.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about that one was how different it is to heal yourself normally versus heal yourself self-care. And then what happens if somebody spends time healing you and then you self-care for a second and let go of it. So we came up with all kinds of crazy different mechanics of how self-care might work. And they're all still in that radical box we talked about.
Oh, can we talk about one more for the radical box?
Yeah, sure.
This is my favorite one, or my newest one, or the newest one rather. Self-care, we actually can make it so that all your healing is reduced by 25%, for example, or by X%.
You're healing on yourself or
No,
on
all your
everyone
healing.
else?
Yeah. So if I choose to be able to heal myself, I
Wow,
take a
you're
hit to
hindering
healing.
like your team there.
Well, I mean like you're taking self-care.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I'm just trying to see this as a solo player perspective who's not playing self-care. If everyone in my team plays self-care, I am the one paying for it, right?
No. You can heal all. Well, I mean, yeah, they're going to heal you very slowly. But I mean, you
Yes.
can heal them like a boss.
Yeah.
Let's
Yay.
call this variant selfish care.
Yes.
And then you run body knowledge, and you outweigh
cancel
the
out your
negative.
penalty.
You cancel out the penalty, right? I don't think that's how negatives and positives work, but
Let's not get into that.
Let's imagine. Yeah. So that would be an idea as well. You'd get hit equally across the board, so you'd heal slower all the time.
Okay. Well,
Oh, I'm gonna keep thinking about it.
yes. So
Not happening soon. That's part of the
Yeah.
crazy box.
from the nightmare, there's a huge introduction paragraph. I'm sorry, I'm going to skip it. Will there be changes soon, or will you put it on the priority list about any change to the generators or new targets?
Okay.
Well, I think we answered that
Yep.
a couple of times today, but we can.
Yeah, so for the last time to
over
come
one
back to the proposed package of changes about slower healing, stronger sabotage, more anti-slugging, as sort of the three-part package that all supports each other to promote more gameplay that is not just on the generator, give the killer more momentum when he hits survivors, and generally just give things a little push in what I think might be the right direction.
So this is also still in an idea state. We're still looking into trying stuff internally and then talking to you about it, and then trying it on the PTBs in the future. We don't know when yet.
At this very moment, when you are watching this, and maybe a little bit after that, I will be on the forums waiting eagerly to hear what you people think about it.
As of tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't see any questions about it here, but how about the end game match? like the end game part of the match, because we started, filling with closing the hatch, and then some people loved the idea, some people hated it, and now we tried 2 iterations of this, and then it brought us back like way more questions than answers. So what are we doing with the end game part?
So we noticed that, well, when it comes down to 1 survivor and 1 killer, one of the things that I think we've identified at this point is that 1 survivor doesn't want to do gens.
Yep.
At all. I think the thing, like if you were to strip away the majority of the game, when it comes down to a survivor and a killer, it's pretty much the chase and how you're using the map to stay away. I'm wondering on the idea that, if you are the last survivor in the map, instead of having to repair all the generators, we could in theory just say that, okay, you're the last survivor, we repair all the generators, and after a minute, we open up the exit gates.
Okay, but as a killer, what's your...
The killer sees the survivor's aura.
Oh, okay.
And the chase starts immediately. And then it's going to be an excited, intense chase for 60 seconds before the exit gates open and you have the opportunity to leave the level or use the hatch.
Okay.
This is radically different than what we currently have.
Yes, so it's literally putting you in a 1v1 against the killer because he sees where you are.
Yep. Exactly. So it comes down to your ability to escape at that point. I think that survivors should work for their escape, especially if you're the last one. Sure, you've made it that far, that's fine. But you could have stealthed, in theory, the whole game.
Yep.
At that point, it will come down to how well you can actually escape him.
So people who are camping the hatch and waiting for their teammates to die, for example, would be seen immediately and would be in a trouble, basically.
Yeah. So either they would take the hatch immediately, right, and then the game is done, which is fine, because the game was finished at that point, right? Or the killer will see him and then try to take him out as quick as possible.
Okay.
So if the server has not identified where the hatch is, they will be
So again, this is all theory, right?
Yeah.
We're still not working on the actual changes.
No, not at the moment. And then the other thing would be at the end of the game. So that just handles the 1 versus 1 scenario, right? I would like to also handle an end game scenario where after all the generators are powered, we do something similar where we actually highlight all the server's auras after let's say a minute, right? And then if they don't get out of the map, they have another minute until they get snared in place and then,
so
reward them or whatever.
Essentially, we would like to put something in place that when a game has come to what is reasonably a natural conclusion, to make it wrap up quick, to not have things that sort of drag on and get frustrating.
But at the same time, so I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here. So at the same time, you have perks like Blood Warden that's going to close up the gates. Yeah. So you have a lot of gameplay at the end of the game right now that can be happening.
So this is something that I definitely want to support. I love Blood Warden a lot, to be very honest. I would like to have it as a base in the game so that when you actually hook somebody, you would activate Blood Warden.
Wow.
As long as the guy's on the hook.
Radical
idea.
Blood Warden itself would last for the full amount of time that you're on the hook or do something else, whatever the case may be, right? But basically you can keep chaining survivors and get the game to keep going as long as there's meaningful interactions going on. If you're just twatting about the level and you're just running around and doing your thing, right, you don't really care, that's not what we're looking for an intense, exciting end of Dead by Daylight. It should be
you should want to go out.
There should be a reason to leave, right? There should be some impending doom of some sort. Death by daylight or something. I don't know. But we can figure it out.
So more exciting end game play.
The sun's coming up. Better leave, or you'll be
burned
dead
alive
by daylight.
You didn't know it, but all the survivors are vampires, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Ruined it. All right.
All right, guys. I think that was all for us today.
That was wonderful.
It was. Thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you,
also, please make sure to give us feedback and the forums, because these guys are going to read it, that's for sure.
That's the Dead by Daylight forums that you have right here.
Yeah.
I really hope we put it there. We're probably going to put it under our name. Yeah. Oh, damn it.
All right, or maybe it's up there.
Well, I'll do this. Hey.
All right, thank you for joining us on our fourth Q&A session. Thank you, Horvath and McLean.
And
I mean Louis and Steph. Thank you so
up?
much for joining us today. And don't forget to give us PTB feedback in the forums also. See you next time.
Bye.